Hello and welcome to the Student Support Portal. The portal is an online community of students, educational professionals and parents of students with a disability who want to keep up to date with the latest developments in assistive technology. Today we have Neil Cottrell from Lexable. Neil, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself, Neil, a bit about your background first of all?
Yeah, sure. So I've been around in assistive technology for a bit over 10 years now. I was a heavy assistive technology user right back from I think year 6 in primary school. I started using assistive technology for my severe dyslexia, and yeah, I've used it ever since, and then started developing my own technology when I was in school, and just kind of came on that path and came into the industry, and yeah, I've loved it ever since, really.
Okay, and year 6, I don't imagine back then there was an awful lot of technology available. What was that you'd have used?
So I used a laptop, which back then was considered assistive technology, and I used text to speech and mind mapping. That was basically all there was at that point.
Okay. So can you tell us why you started Lexable and what was the reasons behind you forming a company? That's a big step to take.
Yeah, well, it wasn't planned. When I was about 15, I was using things like text to speech and mind mapping, but I still had that real frustration. Whenever I was writing, I'd get those red underlines all the time. They'd always distract me from what I was writing. And I started to build my own little piece of software that could automatically correct my spelling as I was typing, so that I could focus on what I was writing and not get all distracted by spelling. And that, over a number of years while I was at school and university, I developed it myself into a rudimentary product. And then when I graduated from university, I thought other people could benefit from it. So I formed Lexable as a business and started to develop the product and get as many people as we could using the software, really. So that's where it started. And then about 10 years, that's what the company was. It had global autocorrect, and then in 2019 we started to develop we released our next product, which was Global Tasks.
Okay, and I'd like to talk a little bit about Global Tasks, but first, you mentioned global autocorrect. For those that don't know, what is that product and what does that do?
Okay, so Global Autocorrect, it was launched back in 2009, and it's grown since then. Essentially, it is automatic spelling correction for your Windows or Mac computer. And the idea is those red underlines that you get in any program you're typing, whether you're writing an email, you're writing an essay, writing on a mind map, those red underlines really disrupt your flow of ideas and disrupt your writing. So Global Autocorrect corrects a lot of those spelling mistakes for you so that you can focus on what you're writing. And it does that across your whole system. And it has lots of clever ways that it does that. It uses phonetic algorithms to make very intelligent corrections. And it also has a database of corrections that users have added that's built up over the last 10 years or so. So it makes an awful lot of corrections for people with dyslexia, or people who perhaps have mental health issues, who maybe their thinking is fuzzy sometimes, or they're tired. So it supports all sorts of people.
Yeah, and I've actually got it installed on my own machine here, and
Good.
Every time I reboot the machine, it tells me just how inaccurate my typing has been and how many corrections it makes in the background. Can you talk just a little bit about how does it make that correction? Does it guess at the word, or it seems to be very accurate most of the time, so I'm guessing there's more to it than it's just looking at the word and suggesting what you might mean.
Yeah, so I mean, this was one of the big things that we had to get over with autocorrection is on people's phones, for example, the threshold for making an autocorrection is quite low. If it's best on a phone to make a guess at what word they might have meant and correct it, because you'll probably be right, And if you're not, then somebody might have the wrong word in a text message. It doesn't really matter. But when you're working on a computer, on a PC or Mac, it's much more important that you avoid false corrections, that you make sure the software only makes corrections when it's absolutely certain. And that's how Global Autocorrect does it. So it looks at the sound patterns in the word you're typing, and it matches those sound patterns onto every word in the English language. And if what you've typed is close enough to one thing and far enough away from everything else, then it's sure about what you meant and it makes a correction. So that's how the phonetic algorithms work. And then also, if users add their own corrections, providing they've agreed, then those get sent up to Lexable anonymously. We vet them, and then they get sent back out to all the users. So you've got kind of a two-pronged attack there.
Okay, and you've mentioned your new product, Global Tasks. I know a little bit about that, but can you explain to us what that is and who would use that sort of a product?
Yeah, so Global Tasks it's targeted mostly at people with dyslexia or other neurodiverse conditions and people with mental health issues of various types. The issue that it solves is one that I had personally myself, which, you know, the same as with Global Autocorrect. With Global Tasks, I found I use lots of different to-do list apps and task management apps to try and keep track of things, and they were okay with me for, you know, identifying what order I wanted to do tasks in. But if I ever wanted to take a step back, if I was feeling a bit overwhelmed and I wanted to, you know, I couldn't see the wood for the trees, I'd want to take a step back, just get an idea of what projects I've got going on, how much I've got in each project, and that sort of thing. It was really difficult to do. So I'd end up sitting on my floor with lots of pieces of paper all around me, trying to get an overview in a visual way of all the things that I was working on. And that was very time consuming. Whereas when we created Global Tasks, we made it such that you can easily switch between your list of things you need to do and the bigger picture of how it all fits together.
Okay, so this is more, I guess I'd describe that like a lifestyle app, that you're not just talking about a single group of jobs for work, or, you know, it's more broad than that, that you can then pull back and say, okay, these are all the things that I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, even people use it differently. Some people use it for home and work and other things. I mean, even if you did just use it for work, you'll have multiple projects, and you'll have, so if you're using it for university, for example, you might have, say you were doing a degree with different modules, you might have the different modules, and then you might have essays within those modules. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed with all of those things. But if you're able to step back and say, okay, I can see how this all fits together, then it does help you to do that. I do use it for my home life as well. And the other thing is, if you say in university you've got a few modules and a few essays, and you feel like you've got too much work on right now, you can say, well, this dissertation or this essay and this other thing I'm doing, I can forget about those for the next week. So just hide those from my view for a week, and then I know that they'll be remembered by the app, and I can just come back. I know they'll pop back at the time that I've asked them to. So I'm not constantly being distracted by the noise of all the things that it's not right for me to work on at the moment. I can just focus on, right, these are the things I want to work on, and I know that the things that I need to work on later on down the line will pop up and reappear on my visual overview when I need them.
Yeah, that all sounds very useful for a student. I'm guessing there are a lot of task management apps out there. Are there any specific ways where yours would differ from the alternatives?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried a lot of task management apps, and that's where this came from, was that if somebody else had created this solution that would solve these problems, then I would have just used that app. You know, this came initially from me wanting to have something that would work for me. The main difference about Global Tasks is that instead of presenting linear lists of items, tasks that people need to do, it has that visual overview, so that instead of having to, as a dyslexic person, my reading, for example, is very slow. So if I was reading down a list, I would get, I'd get halfway down the list and I'd forget what was up at the top. And I wouldn't be able to think in that linear way, especially when I was feeling particularly stressed. So being able to just zoom out was really important. So the main differences really are being able to get that overview, and also to hide the noise by making tasks disappear for a certain amount of time and popping back up again.
Neil, if people are watching this and maybe a parent or a student, there's obviously, I can see there's a breadth of disability types that both global autocorrect and global tasks could help with in a study environment. You already mentioned a lot about dyslexia and your own background. Are there other disability types you see being applicable for these types of programs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dyslexia and other neurodiverse conditions are obvious, particularly, like you said, from my story with dyslexia. But both products, both Global Autocorrect and Global Tasks, we've had a lot of feedback from people working in the industry that they're really helpful for people with mental health conditions. So, for example, people who struggle to see the big picture, or people who are feeling so overwhelmed that they need to get a handle on all of that, can really benefit from Global Tasks, for example.
Okay, so I'm guessing people with maybe mental health issues would certainly benefit directly from that, and that some days they can focus better than others. So I could see an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, mental health is such a broad spectrum, but there are common themes like overwhelm and fatigue and trying to, feeling like you're thinking through custard. All these things, they can really be supported by these products.
Great. And if people want to learn a little bit more about Global Tasks and Global Autocorrect, where is the best place for them to go to do that?
So that would be our website, which is lexable.com, lexable.com. And if you want to get in touch, then if you can email hello@lexable.com, or go to our contact page and you'll find our phone number and contact details on there as well. And we would love to hear from everyone.
Great, thank you. And today we're speaking to Neil Cottrell from Lexable. There is a Lexable group on the DSA portal. You can go there and contact Neil's team directly, or as Neil said, you can contact him either by email or directly on the website. Thank you. This interview was part of our Publishers and Manufacturers series of interviews. If you'd like more information on the products that were discussed in the interview, please go to the portal Assistive Technology section and start a conversation. Thanks for watching.